Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin from Florals.com and today I'm doing a plan with me. I've never done one of these before set up like this, but essentially what I'm going to do is do my March spreads for my bullet journal. I do them very simply and I have this sped up pretty quick so I don't waste your time. If you're really into bullet journaling, this is definitely an amateur bullet journaler. I am not penciling, I am straight markering to my pages, and that is dangerous. You can see my M is short. But that's how we're diving in. I do very simple title pages for each month. As you can see, I'm going to flip back and forth to show you what February looked like. I did a little bit of January earlier too, so you can kind of see how it is. I do have flip throughs for both February and January if you guys are interested. I'll have those linked down below, as well as my bullet journaling playlist. And the first page that's besides my monthly divider is my trackers page. And for this month, I'm doing a green theme for spring, for St. Patrick's Day, all sort of stuff like that. I figured green was the way to go. So I numbered the furthest column with, I think it's 1 through 31 for this month, and that's how my trackers are set up, is by a daily tracker. My monthly trackers actually change month to month. So last month I had a lot more trackers. This month I sort of simplified it. I have a very busy month in March, so I wanted to make it simple. So I make just one social tracker. I have my blog tracker, my YouTube post tracker, my no spend tracker, and then my creative tracker. So there's only 5, which I think is much more reasonable than I think I had 8 before. And I usually color code those as well, but it really depends on my mood. And then I added some leaves to the top, and the markers that I'm using, I know I haven't talked about them, but I've used the same markers every month since I started, are the Copic multi-liners in black, and then my Crayola Super Tips. And I have one of the smaller sets. I think it's the 20 pack. That's all Walmart had when I started bullet journaling, so that's what I got. So after my trackers, I do something called the creation list and a monthly faves list. So I do a monthly favorites video on this channel. So I go over all my favorites, so I want to have somewhere to write that down every month. And then on the left-hand page, I'm doing a creative sort of log, where I can write down all the projects I created this month, sort of keep a running tally every month for how much I've created versus sort of how much I've spent, sort of like that, so I know if I'm creating more or not per month. And that way it just better helps me understand, should I be shopping more or shouldn't I? And if you guys might be new to my channel, I am primarily a crafting channel, so I do scrapbooking, card making, and all that sort of stuff. And my creation tracker, I do not put headers on them, but the left column is the date, because I like to know what dates I created on. The second column that I'm coloring here will be what the project type is, so card, layout, etc. And then the lines next to it will tell me the title of that item, as well as the size of that item, because my sizes vary. So that's how I set up those, and again, I talk about that more in my January and February shares, but this is what I'm working on in March, is the same exact setup. And then for my monthly favorites, I kept the same theme. I did a little vine all the way across, and those are just some very poorly drawn leaves. There's nothing fancy about them. You just grab a marker and you make a little raindrop shape, and there's a leaf. And some of mine are definitely a little chunkier than others, but that's okay. But I keep it all the way across, and then I usually put headers in. Like here I have 3 headers, and I decided to put some in. So I have one that's usually lifestyle, one that's crafty, and then I have something called empties. So if I finish something in a month, I usually like to tell my subscribers about it. And it's always fun if I have some empties at the end of the month, because that means I either really love something to use it enough, or I finally finished one of those things that have been sitting in my crafty stash forever. So after that page, I usually do a monthly calendar spread. And I do speed this up a little bit faster. I do the same count every month, and here you'll see that I'm just marking out where the boxes will be. My boxes, I believe, are 6 by 7. But there's a ton of different designs online. I have a nice space off to the right hand side, which I definitely could have centered this better, but this is just sort of how it ended up. So you can kind of see the little dot marks that I'm making, so I can connect them with my ruler after. And I do 1 page at a time, because it scares me if I do 2 pages at a time, I'll just happen to miscount. And again, I do use these Copic multi-liners, and they come in a variety of widths, which is very, very nice. I like to use one of the thinner ones for the edges here. But I don't use my thinnest one because that one's very, very delicate, so I don't want to ruin it every month. just for my bullet journal spread. And if you guys have recommendations for pens I should use for these sort of thinner lines, let me know in the comments down below. I'm always interested in learning what you guys use for yours. And then I'm just numbering it out, and I have my laptop off to the right hand side so I can make sure that everything lined up properly, because I did count out the boxes before. I only knew I needed 2 on the top row, and then I have to slash the bottom one for day 31. So that worked out nicely to fit. And then I put the title in the top left. That's just where the blank spot is. And I decided to use my gold marker. I'm not sure that's the actual shade of this Crayola Super Tips. It might be something else. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I used that to label Sunday through Saturday. And then here's my little script March word. And then I draw a couple more leaves because that seems to be my theme this month. I would not be good at drawing shamrocks. However, I am Irish, so I could have done that if I really wanted to. I'm just not that great at that. And I also showed or pointed out briefly that I do mark off my calendar, like when I'm certain places or something like that. I just didn't know when I created this spread, and I do apologize that this goes up after March has already started, but I figured some people might be looking for new spreads to add, and maybe one of mine will work for them. Another thing I wanted to try on this paper, and I'm using a Jarbo bullet journal from Amazon. I want to try a little bit of blending with my Super Tips. It worked okay, nothing too crazy there, but it did end up doing a little bit of blending. And so these 2 spreads are my YouTube upload schedule. So I upload 3 times a week, so I usually schedule that out, as well as my design team and collaborations. I write down the dates that everything's due, or what I want to do for a specific date on the left hand side, and then I write other ideas for YouTube videos on the right hand side. And I just did a little vine on the right hand side because that seems to be a theme that I'm going with. But I usually don't do anything specific for a theme every month. I just pick a color scheme that I stick with. Then the last page I always do is a Patreon page. This one was, again, very poorly spaced out because I was not penciling in this time. I just think it's a little more tedious than I'm willing to put in for a bullet journal to pencil everything out and then, go with it. So I'm definitely an amateur bullet journalist, but I just go with the flow and make it work. So after this vine is done, we'll do the final flip through of the pages for March. And I will say it was very nice to switch to the green color palette over the reds and pinks I was using for February, because that got old really fast. But the greens feel fresh and new and sort of inspiring, so I really like that. And I still kept all of my spreads pretty clean and simple. I didn't want to do anything too crazy. And then there's my trackers. You can read them there. No Spend, Creative Time, Blog, YouTube, and then Social. And in the social tracker this month, I decided I'm just going to write the initial of the social that I post on that day. Here are my creation lists and my favorites, and then the monthly spread. Again, that will be marked up with birthdays or holidays or when I'm out of town, stuff like that. My YouTube upload schedule will get dates put into it. I just didn't know them at the time. And then there's my Patreon page. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new. I'd love to have you stick around. But thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.